Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This week, Apple Studios released the first 2 episodes of their new series, a remake of the 1981 sci-fi hit Time Bandits. The original movie was written by Monty Python members Terry Gilliam and Michael Palin, and also directed by Gilliam. This new remake doesn't exactly have the same pedigree behind it, and it shows. For this modern interpretation of the original, the directing and producing duties were handed over to Taika Waititi, who also co-wrote the series, and I do not think I would be exaggerating when I say that his brand of comedy is very polarizing. You either think it's quirky and unique, or it just falls flat because it's trying too hard to subvert expectations and just seems to wander all over the place with no real point. The original film was able to capture the dark humor of satire while silently commenting on the absurdity of modern life at the time. It was never on the nose or in your face, and let's face it, comedy as social commentary is something the members of Monty Python were masters at. Trying to replicate that is not an easy task, if even possible at all. It would be like remaking Star Wars without George Lucas, or Star Trek without Gene Roddenberry. Something is going to be missing, the product is going to feel forced and empty. But here we are, another classic Generation X piece of pop culture being mined for a new generation, and it's just not that great. It's not wholly terrible either, it's just not something any of us need or will care about later on. It is entertaining in a spotty way, by which I mean there are moments in each of the first 2 episodes that do merit attention, but these moments are short and sandwiched between long stretches of time where you can just walk away from the screen only to come back and feel as if you haven't missed anything important. But as always, I like to start with the plot and the positives before getting to the negative. Now, if you've seen the original film, then a lot of what happens in the first episode will be instantly recognizable. Kevin, a young boy who is a history buff and also somewhat of a derided member of his family for being too intelligent and too passionate about academics, having parents that beg for him to give up on his dreams and stick his face in his iPhone to truly experience life, is sucked out of this crummy existence when his wardrobe turns into a portal that can transport him into the past. Unfortunately, he cannot control this portal, and eventually the Time Bandits, led by Lisa Kudrow, enter his room because they are trying to escape the Supreme Being, God, after they stole from him the map that tells them where every other portal is located. And why do they want this map? Well, they are upset by being demoted by God, and as they state very often throughout the first and second episodes, they are the Time Bandits, and are singularly focused on stealing treasure from throughout the timeline and from throughout history. Now, the original film had a band of Time Bandits played by little people, or for lack of a more politically correct term, dwarves. But as Hollywood, as of late, are shying away from including little people in film for fear of looking insensitive, and yeah, I don't get that either. I think there are plenty of actors of short stature that would have loved the acting gig and that Apple paycheck, but again, I digress, because Apple does not want to look insensitive. This new band of Time Bandits are normal-sized individuals and very diverse. Hey, what did you expect? It's Apple. Now, our new Time Bandits and Kevin then follow the blueprint of the original film, hopping from time to time to steal, getting caught up with historical figures and having to talk their way out of trouble. There is the introduction of the personification of evil who wants the map himself so he can remake the universe in his own vision, and there's the Supreme Being who's also trying to track down the Time Bandits so he can reacquire his map. Now, I hope I kept that as spoiler-free as possible, but as we get into some of the finer details of the series, I may have to let a few things slip here or there, so consider that a spoiler warning. First, the positives. The production itself is the high point of the series. The set pieces, the costuming, the special effects, for the most part, are great to look at. Except the opening credits, which, when I first played them, I got confused because they looked cheap and made by someone trying to emulate 80s aesthetics, but doesn't have an understanding of what those actually are. In fact, I thought to myself that I had clicked on a History Channel documentary with how low quality the opening felt. But it's just the intro. Let's move on. Kal-El plays Kevin, our main protagonist, and as far as the acting is concerned, he's the best of them. Actually, he performs his role so well that it accentuates how poorly the other actors come off when they are on screen. And as I said earlier, the set pieces look great. Episode 1 gives us a look at Madame Chung's pirate armada as it battles against the British, and an impressive version of the Trojan horse. And let me add this, historical accuracy, like the original film, is not a concern here either. If that is going to be an issue for you, then you either have to get over it or just don't watch the show. However, that's the end of my positives. And I was hoping for more, but this series, after 2 episodes, becomes so arduous to watch. It took an effort to remain in one place and not get up and walk around while it just continued to play. It boils down to 2 things, both of which point back at Taika Waititi, the writing and the directing. And as I said earlier, Waititi's comedy is not for everyone. Sure, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, but I despise Thor Love and Thunder, and this series is more Thor Love and Thunder. The jokes, the banter, the attempt at a nonchalant delivery of the dialogue by the rest of the cast just doesn't work. Bad writing coupled with bad acting is a recipe for boring. Outside of Kevin, there is nothing in the script or the delivery that provides real emotional attachment or warrants any need for investment in the Time Bandits themselves. Lisa Kudrow just falls flat, and I don't entirely blame her. The script asks that she come off as callous and uncaring, and while that is great in theory, the original leader of the Time Bandits, David Rappaport's Randall, was able to gloss over that callousness with a tenderness that Kudrow just seems to lack. So every time she says something for comedic effect, it never lands well, and ultimately, her lines are forgettable. And the rest of the Time Bandits have similar issues with their characters. An empath that cannot perceive emotions correctly, a strong man with average strength, a map reader who's giving autistic characteristics, and they never feel as if they're a cohesive unit or even overtly caring of one another's well-being, to which I ask, if the characters don't care about each other, why should I care about them? And I don't. After the first 2 episodes, I could care less about the Time Bandits, and if I'm following the story in any measure, it's because Kal-El Tuck's Kevin is done so well that I have at least one thing to hold on to. But it may not be enough for me to watch episodes 3 or 4 when they premiere next week. With that said, let's get back to Taika Waititi, who couldn't help himself and cast himself as the Supreme Being. Of course he did. He cast himself as God. And this Supreme Being does not care about people. He does not seem to care about anything. He comes across as aloof, highly caffeinated, and a retread of Taika's role from the film Free Guy, a selfish twit of a CEO who is not the kind of villain you love to hate. You just don't like him because he's not interesting and there does not seem to be any motivation behind him. At least in Free Guy, the bad guy was after money. Here, you just get the sense that Taika Waititi is just trying to make a personal statement about how he feels about religion and faith and God, which would have been fine if there was some intelligence behind it, but there isn't. Jermaine Clement's portrayal of evil is the second best acting job in the series because I think he watched the original and realized that David Warner's portrayal of the villain in 1981 worked because he was approaching the role with gravitas while surrounded by silliness, and Clement tries to stick to that outline. Therefore, he does it competently, but there's nothing that elevates his performance beyond the label of homage to the original, and that's really all I can say about this series. The spectacle of the grand scenes, the Trojan horse, the pirate battle, they're all wasted because there's nothing else behind them. There's no great acting, there's no great writing, there's no great directing. It's a bad idea wrapped up in great packaging. So I guess I answered the question, is Time Bandits worth the watch? And no, it's not. And the title of the series is apropos because it is a waste of time. It's sad too because with today's special effects and Terry Gilliam still alive, it could have been something special. If Apple just went back to the original source, the original creator, and said, hey, you've wanted to do a sequel for almost 45 years. Here's your chance. Help produce it. Keep it on track. Yeah, he's older now and at 84 may not want to carry all the water, but a now more experienced and wiser Terry Gilliam, the man who gave us The Fisher King, 12 Monkeys, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, among other films, to just include him in the creating of the vision. The potential there alone makes the shortcomings of 2024's Time Bandits even more regrettable. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have you seen the first 2 episodes? And did you like them? And if you want more reviews and reactions, click on the thumbnails at the end of this video for my movie review and retro movie review playlist. And don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Remember, I'm still your reluctant gringo, and from south of the border, salute and a huevo.